The classroom was quiet except for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. Sat in the third row, her eyes fixed on the holographic display floating above Instructor Milo's desk. The blue-skinned teacher was explaining the history of the Galactic Trade Wars, but found it hard to focus. She had stayed up late the night before, studying for her physics exam. Around her, students from 12 different species sat in specialized chairs. Some breathed through masks that gave them different air mixtures. Others wore gravity belts that made them lighter or heavier depending on their home world's pull. The Orbital Academy was famous for bringing together young minds from across the galaxy. It floated in neutral space, far from any empire's control. Was one of only 3 humans at the academy. The others, a boy named and a girl named, sat on the other side of the room. They had become close friends over the past year. Being from Earth made them different from everyone else. Their home was what the galaxy called a death world. Death worlds were planets where everything seemed designed to kill. Earth had extreme temperatures, violent weather, poisonous plants, and dangerous animals. The gravity was heavy compared to most civilized worlds. The air was thick with oxygen, which most species found too strong. Humans had evolved on this brutal planet, and it had made them tough in ways they did not fully understand. Instructor Milo paused his lecture and looked at the class. His 4 eyes blinked slowly. Now, can anyone tell me why the Confederation lost the Third Trade War? A tall, thin student named raised one of his 6 arms. They underestimated their enemy's supply lines. Correct, Milo said with a nod. The thought size and strength would win. They were wrong. Strategy and patience won that war. Wrote this down in her notebook. She preferred paper and pen, even though most students used digital tablets. There was something about the feel of writing that helped her remember things better. The class continued for another 20 minutes. Was starting to feel sleepy when a loud alarm suddenly filled the room. Red lights flashed on the walls. Every student jumped in their seats. "What is happening?" asked a small, furry student named Peaky. Her voice was high and scared. Instructor Milo held up his hands to calm everyone. "Stay in your seats. This is probably just a drill." But could see the worry in his 4 eyes. This was not a drill. The holographic display above his desk flickered and changed. Instead of showing historical maps, it now showed a face. The face was gray and hard, with sharp teeth and deep red eyes. Heavy armor covered broad shoulders. Behind the face could see the bridge of a warship. "I am General of the Empire," the face said. His voice was deep and cold. "I am speaking to the leaders of this station." The classroom went completely silent. Everyone knew they were a warrior species from the Outer Rim. They had conquered dozens of worlds through strength and violence. Their empire was small but feared. General continued, "My ship is now in position above your station. You have 1 hour to send a champion to face me in single combat. If you refuse, or if your champion loses, this station will be destroyed." Gasps filled the room. Some students started to cry. The furry student Peaky fainted and fell from her chair. "This is the way of the said. We settle all disputes through combat. Your station exists in space we now claim. Send your best warrior or prepare to die." The screen went dark. For a long moment no one moved. Then chaos erupted. Students shouted and screamed. Some tried to run for the door. Instructor Milo was calling for order, but no one listened. Stayed in her seat. She looked across the room at him. His face was pale but calm. Looked angry, her hands pressed flat on her desk. "Everyone please," Instructor Milo shouted. "The station council will handle this. We must remain calm." "Handle it how?" shouted, his 6 arms waving wildly. "They are killers. They destroyed the moon colony of Vex just last year." "That was different," Milo said, but his voice lacked confidence. The station's announcement system crackled to life. An old, tired voice spoke. It was Director, the head of the academy. He was a one of the tall, thin species that had lost the Third Trade War. All students and staff, please remain where you are. We are in contact with General. The situation is being handled. But knew that was a lie. There was no way to handle a challenge except to fight. That was their entire culture. Combat decided everything for them, from trade deals to territorial disputes. If you refused to fight, they saw it as surrender. She turned to look at her classmates. The room was full of species from peaceful worlds, worlds with gentle gravity and calm weather, worlds where the most dangerous animal was the size of a small cat. None of them could fight a general. They were big, strong, and trained for battle from birth. Thought about her own childhood on Earth. She remembered hiking through mountains with her father. She remembered swimming in cold ocean water while sharks passed nearby. She remembered learning martial arts from her grandmother, who said that a calm mind was the greatest weapon. Earth was not a peaceful world. It was a world that demanded strength just to survive. The classroom door opened and Director walked in. He was very tall, almost 3 meters, but he looked small today. His shoulders sagged with worry. "I must speak honestly with you," he said. "We have no warriors on this station. Know this. General has chosen us because we are weak. He wants an easy victory to claim this space." "Then what do we do?" asked Instructor Milo. "I am asking for volunteers," Director said. His voice was heavy. "I know it seems hopeless, but perhaps someone can at least buy time. Perhaps a miracle can happen." Silence filled the room. No one moved, no one breathed. Looked down at her notebook. She thought about her physics exam tomorrow. She thought about her parents back on Earth, probably sleeping right now, not knowing their daughter was in danger. She thought about and her only human friends in this part of the galaxy. Then she raised her hand. "Send whoever," she said, her voice calm and steady. "I will fight him." Every eye in the room turned to look at the small human girl who had just volunteered to face a general. The silence in the classroom lasted for 5 full seconds. Then everyone started talking at once. "A human, she cannot be serious. This is madness. She will be killed in moments. Does she not understand what they are?" Director raised his thin arms for silence. His large eyes studied with confusion and something that might have been hope. "Young one, do you understand what you are volunteering for? General has killed over 200 opponents in single combat. He is one of the most feared warriors in the Empire." Closed her notebook and stood up from her chair. She was not tall. By human standards, she was average height for a woman, but compared to most of the species in the room, she was solid and strong. Her body had been built by Earth's heavy gravity, by years of martial arts training, by swimming and running and climbing. "I understand," she said simply. Across the room stood up as well. "Director, I volunteer too. If there is going to be a fight, it should be one of us." Was next. "I also volunteer. Humans should stand together." Director looked between the 3 humans with his large, wet eyes. "They only allow one champion. There can be no team battle." "Then let fight," said. "She is the best of us. Her grandmother was a martial arts master on Earth, has been training since she was 4 years old." Instructor Milo stepped forward. His blue skin had turned a paler shade, which meant he was very worried. "Director, surely we cannot send a student to fight. This is not right. We should contact the Galactic Council. We should ask for help from one of the major empires." "There is no time," Director said sadly. "They gave us 1 hour. By the time any message reaches the council, it will be too late. By the time help could arrive, we would be dust floating in space." He turned back to, "Child, are you absolutely certain? I cannot order you to do this. I can only ask." Thought about the question. Was she certain? No, she had never fought before. She had never fought anyone who wanted to kill her. Her training had been for sport, for exercise, for discipline. This was different. But she thought about the other students in the room. Little Peaky, who had fainted from fear. with his 6 arms, who came from a world so peaceful that violence was almost unknown. The dozens of other young people on this station who had come here to learn, not to die. Someone had to fight, and humans were the only ones who could. "I am certain," she said. Director nodded slowly. "Then we must prepare you as best we can. Come with me. We have 45 minutes before the deadline." Walked toward the door. As she passed, and they both reached out and touched her shoulders. "Be careful," whispered. "Break his bones," added with a small smile. Allowed herself a tiny smile in return. Then she followed Director out of the classroom. The station's hallways were in chaos. Staff members ran in every direction. Some were trying to reach escape pods. Others were praying to gods that had never heard of. Everyone seemed to believe they were going to die. Director led her to a small medical room. A doctor was waiting there, a round creature with many eyes named Doctor. "So this is our champion," Doctor said, studying with several of his eyes. "A human child." "I am not a child," said calmly. "I am 19 years old." "You are a child to me," Doctor said. "I am 400 years old, but that does not matter now. Sit. Let me examine you." Sat on the medical table. Doctor attached several sensors to her skin and watched the readings appear on his screen. After a minute, he made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Director, come look at this," he said. Director moved to the screen. His eyes widened. "These numbers cannot be correct." "They are correct," Doctor said. "I have read about humans before, but I never believed the stories. Look at her bone density. It is 3 times higher than a warrior. Her muscle fiber count is remarkable. Her reflexes." He paused and made that strange laughing sound again. "Her reflexes are faster than my equipment can properly measure." "What does this mean?" Director asked. "It means she is a death," Doctor said. "True and complete. Her body was built to survive on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. They think they are strong because they conquered some peaceful farming worlds, but they have never faced a species like humans." Listen to this without expression. She knew her body was different from other species. On the station, she had to be careful not to break things. The cups in the cafeteria felt like paper in her hands. The chairs were too fragile for her to sit in quickly. She had learned to move gently, to control her strength. But she had never thought of herself as strong. On Earth, she was normal, just a regular girl who liked to study and spend time with her friends. "There is more," Doctor continued. "Humans have something called adrenaline. It is a chemical in their blood that activates during danger. When this chemical is released, a human becomes stronger, faster, and less sensitive to pain. I have read accounts of humans lifting heavy vehicles to save their children, fighting off wild animals with their bare hands, surviving injuries that would kill any other species instantly." Director looked at with new eyes. "Can you do these things?" Shrugged. "I have never tried to lift a vehicle, but my grandmother always said that humans find their true strength when they need it most." "Your grandmother sounds wise," Director said. "She was," said. "She died 3 years ago, but she taught me everything I know about fighting." A communication device on the wall buzzed. A nervous voice spoke through it. "Director, they are asking for an update. They want to know if we will send a champion." Director pressed a button to respond. "Tell General that we accept his challenge. Our champion will meet him in 30 minutes." He turned back to, "We have a small gymnasium on the station. It can be converted into an arena. They will send observers to ensure fair combat." "What are the rules?" asked. "They use simple rules. No weapons unless both fighters agree to them. No outside help. The fight continues until one person surrenders or is unable to continue." "Unable to continue means dead," said. "Usually, yes," Director admitted. Nodded. She had expected this. "I am ready." They walked to the gymnasium together. When they arrived, workers were already clearing the space. Mats were being laid on the floor. A large circle was being marked in the center. Through the windows, could see the warship hanging in space like a metal predator. It was huge and ugly, covered in weapons. A smaller shuttle was leaving it, heading toward the station. General was coming. Began to stretch her muscles. She cleared her mind the way her grandmother had taught her. Fear was natural, her grandmother had always said, but fear could be controlled. Fear could be used. The shuttle docked with the station. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. The door to the gymnasium opened, and General walked in. General was massive. He stood nearly 2.5 meters tall, and his shoulders were as wide as a door. His gray skin was covered with scars from countless battles. His armor was black and decorated with symbols that probably represented his victories. His red eyes scanned the room with clear contempt. Behind him came 4 soldiers, all nearly as large as their general. They wore similar armor and carried recording devices. These were the observers, here to make sure the combat was fair. His eyes found immediately. She was the only person in the room who was not trying to hide or look away. She stood in the center of the circle, still stretching her shoulders. The general laughed. It was a deep, ugly sound like rocks grinding together. "This is your champion," he asked, looking at Director, "a small female from. What species is this?" "Human," Director said quietly, "from the planet Earth." Frowned. The name seemed familiar to him, but he could not remember why. "I have not heard of this species. Are they known for their warriors?" "We are known for surviving," said. Everyone turned to look at her. Most species would never speak directly to a general. It was considered dangerous and disrespectful. But's voice was calm, as if she was discussing the weather. His red eyes narrowed. He walked closer to her, his heavy boots making the floor shake. When he stopped, he was so close that could smell him. He smelled like metal and something bitter. "You have courage," Small One said, "but courage will not save you. I have killed warriors twice your size. I have broken the backs of champions from a dozen worlds. What makes you think you can survive against me?" Looked up at him without fear. "I have an exam tomorrow. I would like to finish this quickly so I can go back to studying." For a moment did not move. He could not understand what he was hearing. Was this tiny creature mocking him? Did she not understand that she was about to die? Then he laughed again, louder this time. "I like you, little human. You are funny. It is almost sad that I must kill you." "We will see," said. Director stepped forward nervously. "General, we should discuss the rules of combat." Waved his massive hand dismissively. "Standard rules. No weapons. No outside help. Fight until surrender or death." He looked at. "Do you accept these terms, human?" "I do," said. "Then let us begin." Removed his armor. Underneath, his body was even more impressive. Muscles covered every part of him like thick ropes. His gray skin was marked with more scars and what looked like ritual tattoos. He rolled his shoulders and cracked his neck, making sounds like breaking branches. Removed her jacket and shoes. Underneath, she wore simple training clothes, a loose shirt and flexible pants. Compared to, she looked like a child standing next to a monster. The watching crowd grew. Word had spread through the station, and now hundreds of people were gathered at the edges of the gymnasium, and had pushed their way to the front. Their faces were pale with worry, but they tried to look encouraging when glanced at them. One of the observers stepped forward. "The combat will begin when I drop my hand. It will end when one fighter surrenders by speaking the word, or when one fighter is unable to continue. Are both fighters ready?" Crouched into a fighting stance, his hands were open, fingers spread like claws. "Ready." Took a different stance. Her feet were wide apart, her knees bent, her hands raised in front of her body. Her breathing was slow and controlled. "Ready." The observer raised his hand high. The room went completely silent. Even the hum of the station's system seemed to fade away. The hand dropped. Attacked immediately. He was faster than anything his size should be. His massive body shot forward like a bullet, his right hand reaching for his throat. He planned to end this quickly, to crush her windpipe and show everyone the power of the... But was not there. She moved at the last possible moment, sliding to the side like water flowing around a rock. His hand grabbed empty air. Before he could recover, his foot swept against his ankle. It was not a powerful kick. It did not need to be. It was placed perfectly, hitting the exact point where his balance was weakest. The massive general stumbled, his arms waving wildly. The crowd gasped. Caught himself before he fell. He spun around, his red eyes now burning with anger. "Lucky," he growled. Said nothing. She had returned to her stance, calm and patient. Attacked again, this time with more care. He threw a punch that could have broken through a metal wall. Ducked under it, feeling the wind of his fist pass over her head. She stepped in close to his body and drove her elbow into his ribs. The impact was solid. Grunted in surprise. That hit had hurt. It should not have been possible. The human was so small, so thin. How could she hit so hard? He swung his other arm in a wide arc, trying to catch her with a backhand blow. But she was already moving, sliding around behind him. Her foot connected with the back of his knee. This time did fall. He dropped to one knee with a crash that shook the floor. The crowd was completely silent now. No one could believe what they were seeing. Pushed himself back to his feet. His breathing was heavier now. There was something in his red eyes that had not been there before. It took a moment to recognize it. "Fear." "What are you?" demanded. "I am human," said. "From Earth, it is a death world." Now remembered. He had heard stories about death worlds. Planets where the environment was so hostile that only the strongest creatures could survive. Planets where gravity crushed bones, where weather destroyed cities, where predators hunted at every moment. He had thought they were just stories, legends to scare children. He was beginning to understand that they were true. "You think a few lucky hits will save you," snarled, trying to hide his growing doubt. "I have fought for over 40 years. You are nothing but a student." "Then stop talking and fight," said. Roared and charged again. This time he was smart. He did not try to grab her or hit her with single strikes. Instead, he attacked with a flurry of blows, using his size and reach to create a wall of violence that she could not escape. But did not try to escape. She moved into the attacks, not away from them. Her body twisted and flowed between his strikes. His fists passed within centimeters of her face, her body, her legs, but none of them connected. And every time she dodged, she struck back. A punch to his stomach, a kick to his thigh, an elbow to his back. Each hit was small, but they added up, was being taken apart piece by piece, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The fight had lasted less than 2 minutes, but was already breathing hard. Sweat dripped from his gray skin. His movements were becoming slower, less precise. Was not even breathing hard. Her heart rate was elevated but controlled. The adrenaline that doctor had described was flowing through her blood, making her senses sharper, her movements faster. She was not just surviving. She was winning. General had never felt this way before. In 40 years of combat, he had never faced an opponent he could not overpower. His strength had always been enough. His size had always been enough. The way was simple: be stronger, be bigger, be more brutal. It had worked against every species he had ever faced. But this human was different. She moved like nothing he had ever seen. It was not just speed, though she was incredibly fast. It was the way she seemed to know where he was going to attack before he did. Every punch he threw missed. Every grab caught only air. And those small hands of hers kept finding weak points he did not even know he had. His right shoulder was going numb from a strike to a nerve cluster. His left knee felt like it was filled with broken glass. His ribs ached from the repeated blows to his sides. He was being destroyed, and the human had not even been touched. The crowd watching had grown larger. Word had spread across the entire station. Everyone wanted to see the impossible, a human student fighting a general. Among the watchers and held each other's hands tightly. They had known was good. They had trained with her sometimes, and she had always been careful not to hurt them. But they had never seen her fight like this. They had never seen her let go of the control she usually kept over herself. "She is beautiful," whispered. Nodded, he could not speak. He was too amazed. Director stood nearby with Doctor. The doctor was still watching his medical scanner, tracking vital signs. "Her heart rate is only slightly elevated," Doctor said quietly. "Her breathing is normal. She is not even trying hard yet." "Not trying hard," Director repeated in disbelief. "No, watch her face. She is completely calm. This is remarkable." In the circle, tried a new strategy. He stopped attacking and raised his guard, protecting his head and body with his massive arms. If he could not hit her, at least he would stop her from hitting him. Circled him slowly. Her dark eyes studied his defense, looking for openings. "You cannot win by hiding," she said. "Shut up," growled. "If you surrender now, you can leave with your life. There is no shame in losing to a stronger opponent." His face twisted with rage. Surrender him. He was a general of the Empire. He had conquered worlds. He would die before he surrendered to this tiny creature. He dropped his guard and attacked with everything he had left. His fists flew at her face, her body, her legs. He kicked and grabbed and tried to tackle her to the ground. If he could just get his hands on her, his weight would be enough. He would crush her. But was not there. She was everywhere and nowhere. She bent backward under a punch that should have taken off her head. She jumped over a kick aimed at her knees. She spun away from his grabbing hands like a leaf in the wind. And then she struck. 3 hits in 2 seconds. The first was a punch to his throat, not hard enough to kill him, but hard enough to steal his breath. The second was a palm strike to his ear, making his head ring and his balance vanish. The third was a kick to the side of his knee, finally breaking something important inside. Collapsed. He fell face first onto the mat, unable to catch himself. His arms would not respond. His legs would not move. He could only lie there, gasping for air that would not come fast enough. Stood over him. She was not even breathing hard. "Do you surrender?" she asked. Tried to push himself up. His arms shook. His muscles screamed. He managed to lift himself a few centimeters before his strength failed and he crashed back down. "Never," he gasped. Sighed. She had hoped he would be reasonable. "Then I will have to make you unable to continue." She reached down and grabbed his arm. With a twist that showed perfect technique, she put him in a hold that trapped his shoulder and elbow. She applied pressure slowly, giving him time to understand what was happening. "If you do not surrender, I will break your arm," she said calmly. "Then I will break your other arm, then your legs. I do not want to do this, but I will if you force me." His red eyes were wide with pain and shock. He could feel the pressure in his joints, feel how close they were to snapping. The human's grip was like iron. He could not break free. You are a monster," he managed to say. "No," said, "I am a human. We are not monsters. We are survivors. Our world tried to kill us every day and we refused to die. We are what happens when a species evolves on a death world." She increased the pressure slightly, screamed. "Surrender," she said. "Save your arm, save your pride. You can tell your people that you lost to a death. There is no shame in that." For a long moment was silent except for his heavy breathing. His whole life he had believed in the way. Strength was everything. Victory was everything. Surrender was death. But now he understood something new. True strength was not just about muscles and violence. True strength was about adaptation, about survival, about knowing when to fight and when to stop. This human had that strength, he did not. "I surrender," he said. The words were quiet, barely more than a whisper, but the observers heard them. Their recording devices captured them clearly. Released his arm immediately. She stood up and stepped back, giving him space. The gymnasium exploded with noise. Cheers and screams filled the air. Students were crying with relief and joy. Teachers were hugging each other. Even the usually calm director was bouncing on his long legs with excitement, and ran into the circle and threw their arms around. She accepted the hug, though she seemed a little embarrassed by all the attention. "You did it," shouted. "You actually did it." "You were amazing," added. "Absolutely amazing." Smiled slightly. "I need to go study now. My physics exam is tomorrow." Her friends laughed, thinking she was joking, but was completely serious. On the ground, General slowly pushed himself into a sitting position. His soldiers rushed to help him, but he waved them away. Despite his injuries, despite his defeat, he wanted to stand on his own. He looked at the human girl who had beaten him. She was already walking toward the door, supported by her friends, as if she had not just done something impossible. For the first time in his life, General felt something he had never expected to feel. Respect. The medical bay was crowded with doctors and nurses rushing around General. His injuries were serious but not life-threatening. His knee would need surgery. His shoulder would take weeks to heal. The damage to his throat and ear would recover on their own. Doctors supervised the treatment, fascinated by the chance to examine a warrior up close. He had never seen one before, except in pictures. "Your species is quite impressive," he told while examining his damaged knee. "Strong bones, dense muscles, fast healing. By any normal standard, you should be one of the most dangerous fighters in the galaxy." Stared at the ceiling. His red eyes were dull with exhaustion and something deeper. "But I lost." "You lost to a human," Doctor said matter-of-factly. "Do not feel too bad. Until today, I did not believe the stories about death either. Now I understand." "What do you understand?" "That the galaxy has been very lucky. Humans are a young species. They only left their planet a few hundred years ago. They have been peaceful, mostly interested in trade and exploration." Doctor paused and looked directly at with several of his eyes. "If humans ever decided to become conquerors like I do not think anyone could stop them." Said nothing. He did not need to. They both knew it was true. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, sat in a quiet room with director and the celebration outside was still going on, but she had asked for privacy. She did not like crowds. "They are withdrawing their claim on this space," director said, reading from his communication device. General transmitted the result of the combat to his empire. "They are honoring the agreement. The station is safe." "Good," said. She was looking through her physics notes. Laughed and shook his head. "You just saved thousands of lives. You defeated one of the most feared warriors in the galaxy. Can you please stop studying for 1 minute?" "The exam is important," said without looking up. "I want to get a good grade." Sat down next to her friend. "Are you okay? Really okay? That fight was intense." Finally looked up from her notes. Her face was calm, but her friends knew her well enough to see the tiredness underneath. "I am fine. I did not enjoy the fight. I do not like hurting people, but it was necessary." "It was more than necessary," director said. "It was heroic. You will be famous now. The story is already spreading across the galaxy. A human student defeating a general. It will change how other species see your people." Frowned slightly. "I do not want to be famous. I just want to finish my studies and go home." "I am afraid that will be difficult," director admitted. "The news networks are already requesting interviews. The Galactic Council wants to speak with you. Several military organizations have expressed interest in recruiting you." "No," said firmly. "I am not a soldier, I am a student." Director nodded slowly. "I will do what I can to protect your privacy, but you should prepare yourself. The galaxy will not forget what happened here today." There was a knock at the door. A staff member entered looking nervous. Director, General is asking to speak with the human. He says it is important. Everyone looked at, she thought for a moment, then nodded. Let him in. General entered the room slowly. He was leaning on a medical support device, his damaged leg unable to bear weight. Two of his soldiers stayed close, ready to catch him if he fell, but his red eyes were clear and focused. He stopped a few meters from and looked at her for a long moment. I came to thank you, he said. No one had expected this. Director's long face showed his surprise, and exchanged confused looks. Thank me, asked, for what? For teaching me something, straightened his back despite the pain. The way has always been about strength, raw power. We believed that the strongest warrior was always the best, but you showed me that this is not true. Skill, speed, intelligence. These things can defeat raw strength. I was so focused on being powerful that I forgot to be smart. Considered his words. Your people conquer others through violence. Many innocent people have died because of your empire. Yes, admitted, this is true, but perhaps things can change. Perhaps they should change. He paused, seeming to struggle with what he wanted to say next. On my world, I am considered a great warrior, one of the best. If you could defeat me so easily, what would happen if humans ever truly went to war? The empire would fall in days. We do not want war, said. Humans fight when we must, not because we enjoy it. I know that now. Made a strange gesture with his hand, something that might have been a salute or a sign of respect. When I return home, I will speak to our leaders. I will tell them what I learned here. I will suggest that they find a new path, one that does not require conquest and violence. Do you think they will listen? Asked. Some will, some will not. Change is slow, but it must begin somewhere. His red eyes met hers directly. I hope we will not meet in battle again of Earth, not because I fear you, though I do, but because I believe we could be allies instead of enemies. Nodded slowly. I hope so too. Turned and limped toward the door. Before leaving, he stopped and looked back. One more thing. Your grandmother who taught you to fight, she must have been an incredible warrior. She was a small woman, said. She ran a bakery. She never hurt anyone in her life. Stared at her for a moment, trying to understand. Then he shook his head and laughed quietly. Death, he muttered as he left. The room was quiet after he was gone. Finally spoke. Did that just happen? Did a general just apologize and promise to change his empire's ways? I think so, said, still looking stunned. Director was smiling widely. This is better than I could have hoped. Not just survival, but actual change. The possibility of peace. Miss, you have done something remarkable today. Looked back down at her physics notes. I still have to study. Her friends laughed, this time even smiled. The next day she took her physics exam. She got the highest score in her class. When the semester ended, she returned home to Earth. She visited her grandmother's grave and told her about the fight. She imagined the old woman laughing, saying something like, "A general? That is nothing. You should have seen the customers at my bakery." Life returned to normal, or as normal as it could be. Finished her studies. She traveled. She made friends. She avoided the fame that followed her, preferring quiet moments to public attention. But the story of the Death World girl spread across the galaxy anyway. It was told in schools and military academies. It was analyzed by strategists and historians. It became a legend. And somewhere in the Empire, General kept his promise. Slowly, piece by piece, he worked to change his people's ways. It would take generations, but the first steps had been taken. All because one human girl had raised her hand in a classroom and said, "Send whoever." The galaxy would never be the same.